It was a quiet morning. The sky was clear. Birds flew over tall buildings. Children were walking to school. People were on their way to work. It felt like a normal day. But something strange was about to happen. Something that would change Earth forever. At 9:17 a.m. GMT, every satellite around Earth suddenly stopped working. GPS failed. Internet signals broke down. Phones stopped connecting. For exactly 2 minutes, the world went silent. Then, it returned. Everything worked again. Internet, phones, TV, all back to normal. But something had changed. In the sky, high above Earth, a massive object floated in silence. Black, smooth, and larger than any spaceship humans had ever made. It didn't make a sound. It didn't move. It just stayed there, like it had always been there. People all over the world saw it. News channels showed the object live. Some said it was a comet. Others thought it was a new weapon. But the truth was, no one knew. The object stayed still for 3 hours. Then, it spoke. All around the world, in every language, on every screen, on every radio, the same message played. We come in peace. But do not test us. People froze. Governments called emergency meetings. Panic spread. Markets crashed. Airports closed. Religious leaders called for prayer. Some people cried. Others stared at the sky in fear. The United Nations held a secret meeting. Inside the main hall, world leaders sat in silence. The room was tensed. The U.S. President, Cale Donovan, stood slowly. He was a tall man with white hair and sharp eyes. His voice was calm. We must not fight them, he said. They have done nothing to us, not yet. A general from another country stood up. President Cale, they shut down our satellites. That was an attack. Cale shook his head. No one was harmed. No one died. They only sent a message. Woman from Japan added, their message said, do not test us. That's a threat, Cale replied, or a warning. The debate went on. Some wanted to send missiles. Some wanted to wait. But Cale stayed calm. They could have destroyed us already, he said. They didn't. That means they don't want war. But no one was sure. In the city of Nairobi, Africa, a small girl named Mira was walking with her mother. Suddenly, a beam of light came from the sky. It landed in a quiet park nearby. People screamed and ran. But Mira walked toward the light. Her mother shouted, Mira, come back. But Mira didn't stop. She looked into the light. And there, standing inside it, was something, not human. Tall, glowing, with soft blue lights flowing through its body. It had no face. No eyes, but Mira didn't feel afraid. She felt warm. The being touched her hand. Mira smiled. Then the being floated upward, and the light disappeared. Mira turned around. Her leg, which was paralyzed since birth, was healed. She could walk, run, jump. The video of Mira and the alien went viral. Some called it a miracle. Others called it alien mind control. Back in the U.S., President Cale sat in his private office. He watched Mira's video again and again. These are not enemies, he said to his assistant. This is something else. His assistant, Reed, didn't look convinced. Sir, we don't know their real goal. They could be softening us, earning our trust before they take over. Cale stood up. Maybe, but what if this is a test? What if they're seeing how we react? Reed leaned in. Some leaders want to strike first. If we wait too long, we might be too late. Cale looked out the window. War is easy. Peace is harder. That night, Cale received a strange package. No name, no return address. Inside, a small device, like a tablet, was glowing. When he touched it, it showed images, not videos. Not photos. Memories. Cale saw images of ancient Earth. Thousands of years ago, he saw pyramids, great cities long lost. He saw stars falling from the sky. And he saw them, the same glowing beings. They had been here before. The next morning, Kale addressed the world. He stood before cameras, looking calm but firm. "People of Earth," he began, "we are not alone. That truth is now clear. But we must understand something important. These visitors, these beings, are powerful, yes, but they have shown no violence." He paused. "I say this to you all, we must not fight them. We must not repeat the mistakes of our past. Fear leads to war. War leads to death." Some cheered him. Others mocked him. But his voice was clear. Then, something unexpected happened. The alien object moved for the first time. It rotated slowly. A small pod separated from it. The pod entered Earth's atmosphere and flew toward the Pacific Ocean. It moved silently, faster than any human aircraft. Nations tracked it. Fighter jets were sent to intercept it. But before they could reach it, the pod vanished. Disappeared. No trace. And then, the second message came. "Do not fear us, but do not attack us. This is your final warning." In a secret military base, a group of scientists were analyzing the alien signals. One of them, Dr. Elia Rowe, found something strange. "These signals," she said, "they're not just sound, they're layered. There's something underneath them." Her team worked for hours. Finally, they unlocked a hidden message inside the sound waves. It was a set of coordinates leading to an ancient ruin in South America. President Kale received the information immediately. He called a special team to go to the ruins. "They're leading us somewhere," Kale said. "They want us to remember something." Meanwhile, not everyone trusted Kale. In a dark room, a group of men and women sat around a large table. They were not elected leaders. They were powerful, hidden people, CEOs, generals, spies. "He's too soft," one man said. "He's playing into their hands." Another woman added, "We need to strike first." They had a name, the Protocol, a secret group that had prepared for alien contact for decades. Their plan? Steal alien technology. Study it. Control it. At any cost. As the world watched the skies, and Kale tried to calm nations, the Protocol was already moving. In an underground lab, they were building a weapon, something they believed could hurt the alien ship. They called it Project Skyfire. Back in the ruins of South America, the special team found something incredible. An old temple wall, covered in symbols. Not human. Not ancient, alien. And in the center, a carving of a figure that looked exactly like Kale. The face, the eyes, even the scar on his chin. One soldier said, "Sir, this is not possible. This was carved thousands of years ago." The temple walls began to glow. A beam of light shot upward, straight into the sky. The alien ship responded. It pulsed with light once, then it went silent again. Kale stood in the middle of the temple. He stared at the carving. His hands shook. "Why me?" he whispered. No one answered. But far above the earth, the alien ship slowly turned toward a new direction. Toward him. The world was not the same anymore. The alien ship still floated above Earth, silent and unmoving, like a giant eye watching everything. People everywhere looked up at the sky with fear, curiosity, or hope. Some believed the visitors were peaceful. Others believed it was a trick. But no one knew the truth. At the United Nations headquarters in Geneva, world leaders met again. The air inside the large round room was heavy. Faces were tired. No one had slept well since the first message from the aliens. President Cale Donovan sat at the center of the long table. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. A representative from Russia stood up first. "We cannot just wait," he said. "They are above our homes, above our cities, and we do nothing?" A man from India replied, "They have not attacked. They healed a girl. Isn't that proof they mean peace?" An older woman from France stood. "No," she said. "That could be a trick." We do not understand their technology. Maybe they made her better just to make us lower our guard. The room fell silent. Kale stood up. I understand your fear, he said, his voice calm. But fear is not the answer. These beings are watching. US, testing us. If we attack first, we may not get a second chance. But what if we wait too long? Ask the British Prime Minister, Kale answered. Then we wait. Until we understand more. Some nodded in agreement. Others whispered in frustration. The council was now divided. Meanwhile, in a quiet desert in northern Kenya, something strange happened again. A beam of light came down from the sky, just like the one in Nairobi. But this time, it brought something with it. A small silver pod landed gently on the ground. People gathered at a distance. Soldiers surrounded the area. Then the pod opened. Inside was a cube, glowing softly. It hovered above the ground. Suddenly, it projected images into the air. The images showed sick children lying in a hospital. As the cube glowed, the children in the images began to heal. One child opened his eyes and smiled. Another took his first breath. Doctors near the pod ran back to the local hospital. The exact same children from the images were healed. The pod then vanished, fading into thin air. News of the miracle spread fast. Television channels called the cube a gift from the stars. Some people cried. Others fell to their knees and prayed. But not everyone was happy. In a military bunker, General Rowan, leader of a top-secret defense group, slammed his hand on the table. This is manipulation, he growled. They want us to love them. They want us to trust them. That's how they get control. His second-in-command nodded. What do we do, sir? Rowan looked at the satellite map. We attack the next pod. Quietly. No orders from the UN. This is war. They just don't know it yet. Back at the White House, President Kale was in a private meeting with Dr. Elia Rowe, the scientist who had discovered the alien signal hidden in their message. They know things, Mr. President, she said softly. Too many things. Their technology is like nothing we've ever seen. Can we communicate with them? Kale asked. Dr. Elia nodded. I think they're already talking to us. But not with words. With images, dreams, feelings. Kale leaned forward. I've had dreams lately about stars. About a face I don't know, but it feels familiar. Dr. Elia didn't look surprised. You're not alone. I've spoken to 5 others. Scientists, artists, even a child. They all describe the same face. The same dreams. Kale went silent. Then he whispered, they're inside our minds. Dr. Elia replied, maybe not inside, maybe just close enough to see. That night, in the African desert, a secret operation took place. A small alien probe appeared in the air, silent, peaceful, glowing. 10 soldiers hid nearby, waiting. The order was simple, destroy it. The moment the probe landed, they fired a missile. There was a bright flash, but when the smoke cleared, nothing was there. No wreckage, no pieces, no fire. The missile had hit nothing. The probe had vanished before impact. Suddenly, every soldier's radio crackled. A voice spoke. Soft, deep, not human. We offered peace. You answered with fear. This path will hurt only you. Then silence. In the Pentagon, alarms blared. All screens blinked for 3 seconds. Then returned to normal. No damage was done. But the message was clear. The aliens had control. Back in Geneva, a private session of the Security Council was called. Kale was there. So was General Rowan. We need action, Rowan demanded. They just spoke into our systems. They have access to satellites, missiles, networks. What else are they watching? Kale looked directly at him. Everything, Rowan smirked. Then we're already slaves. Kale stood. No, not if we choose to listen. They warned us. We fired first. Rowan replied coldly. We defend first. The council argued for hours. Some said Kale was right. Others said he was weak. In the end, no agreement was made. Later that evening, Kale walked alone into the presidential garden. He looked up at the stars. The ship was still there, watching, waiting. Then, without warning, the air changed. A soft hum began. Lights flickered in the sky. Kale turned and saw a figure, not human. Tall, glowing, no face, no eyes, but Kale felt no fear. The figure stood still. Then it spoke, not with words, with thoughts. Kale felt them deep inside. Your people are divided. Your fear blinds you. One of your own will break the balance. Kale whispered, "What do you want from us?" The being replied, "Not want, warn. You walk a thin line. There are others like you, but not all are chosen." Kale asked, "Why me?" But the being was gone. Only the silence of the night remained. Next day, Kale received a report, a top-secret file from intelligence. Inside, satellite photos of a location in Antarctica. A structure had appeared overnight, buried under the ice, glowing softly. No doors, no windows. Just a smooth black pyramid, and carved on its side, a symbol. The same symbol found on the ruins in South America. Kale stared at it. "What are you trying to show us?" He whispered. At the same time, in a dark room somewhere in London, an old man with silver eyes watched the same file. He smiled. "They're waking up the old places," he said. A younger man beside him asked, "Should we stop them?" The old man shook his head. "No, let them try. Let them remember." He turned to a wall covered in old symbols and photos. Photos of the alien ship, taken hundreds of years ago. He touched one picture, showing a man who looked just like Kale. "They always choose one," he said. "But not all of them survive." In his office, Kale closed the file and sat in silence. The world was changing. People were scared. Leaders were ready for war. And somewhere, someone was planning something terrible. He looked up once more at the Comwan was planning something terrible. Sky, the ship above Earth, pulsed with a soft blue light. Then, one last message was broadcast across all screens, in a voice that sounded both human and not. "Your time is short. Your test has begun." The ship above Earth didn't move. It had been 13 days since it arrived. People had stopped screaming. The panic had become silence. The world was still watching, still afraid. But now there was something else. Curiosity. What did the aliens want? Why were they still here? And what did the last message mean? Your time is short. Your test has begun. Was it a warning? A countdown? Or something else entirely? President Cale Donovan stood on the balcony of the White House, watching the sky. He hadn't slept in 2 nights. His dreams were strange, full of lights, sounds, and voices that weren't his own. Every night he saw a face made of light, a voice calling him through stars. But this night, something changed. He didn't just dream. He heard the voice. While awake. Soft, calm, direct. Come to the place where sky meets fire. Listen, the voice will guide you. Cale woke up in a cold sweat. He wasn't in bed. He was standing in the garden. In his pajamas, barefoot, the voice still echoed in his mind. The next morning, Cale called Dr. Elia Rowe. She listened carefully to everything he said. "You were not dreaming, Mr. President," she said. "They're inside the electromagnetic field. They can use it to talk to the human brain." "But what does it mean?" Cale asked. Elia turned the lights off and showed him a digital map. It showed Earth with glowing patterns, magnetic lines, storms, pulses. "This," she sighed, "is where sky meets fire." She pointed to a single glowing spot in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, a small, unmarked island. Cale stared. "I've never seen that place on any map." "It wasn't there before," Elia said. "It appeared after the alien ship arrived." Later that day, Cale left Washington in secret. Only 4 people knew. He took a small aircraft with Dr. Elia. and a special forces team. They flew low, under radar. They followed the magnetic signal, and then they saw it. An island floating in the ocean. Green and alive, but glowing with light from underneath. Land there, Kale ordered. The pilot hesitated. Sir, it doesn't look natural. Kale said, nothing about this is natural. They landed on the edge of the beach. The sand was warm. The trees were tall and strange, with leaves shaped like stars and glowing veins inside their trunks. No birds, no insects, no wind. Only silence. Then they heard it. A voice, not in the air, but inside their minds. You are welcome, but not all may enter. Suddenly, 3 of the soldiers dropped their guns and fell to their knees. Their eyes rolled back. They were breathing, but frozen. Dr. Elia panicked. What's happening? Kale grabbed her hand. Keep walking. Only he and Elia were able to move. As they entered the forest, the world around them began to shift. The trees became translucent. The ground turned to glass. They stepped forward and saw the light. It was a tower, rising high. Above the center of the island. It pulsed with color, not just blue, but gold, violet, red. The colors were alive. They moved like waves. Elia whispered, this is not technology. This is something else, something alive. Then the voices returned. One carries memory, one carries fear. Kale asked out loud, who are you? No answer, only more images. Appearing in the sky above the tower, they saw ancient Earth again, oceans rising, fires burning, cities sinking. They saw human war, thousands of years ago. Weapons made of light, creatures flying above pyramids. And then, the ship. The same ship that floats above Earth today, appearing again and again through human history. Kale stared at it all. They've been watching us for centuries. Elia added, maybe even guiding us. Suddenly, the light from the tower shot straight into the sky. A beam of energy touched the clouds. For a moment, the entire world saw it. Even in daylight, the beam was visible from space. In Antarctica, the black pyramid began to glow. In Japan, people fell to the ground holding their heads. In the Amazon jungle, trees bent toward the sky. The Earth was reacting. Back in Geneva, the Security Council saw the beam on satellite feeds. General Rowan slammed the table. They're activating something. This is their move. We respond now. Some leaders agreed. Others begged to wait. But Rowan had already given orders from a military base in space. A hidden weapon, Project Skyfire, was activated. A beam of focused plasma was aimed at the Project Skyfire was activated. A beam of focused plasma was aimed at the Project Skyfire was Skyfire. Alien tower on the island. Kale and Elia stood inside the glowing tower, staring at its heart, a pulsing orb, floating, turning slowly, like a brain made of light. Then they heard it. You are the last signal. What you choose will shape the sky. Elia asked, what does that mean? Kale didn't have time to answer. His radio buzzed. Mr. President, this is command. Skyfire has locked onto your position. Repeat, evacuate immediately. Do you copy? Kale froze. They're going to fire on the tower, he said. Elia's eyes widened. If they destroy this, we may lose everything. Kale ran outside. The sky above them was turning red. A beam was falling from the stars. He looked up and shouted, "Stop!" But the sky didn't listen. The beam struck the island. There was no explosion. There was no fire. Instead, the light stopped. Every glowing object on the island turned off. Silence. The tower turned gray. The trees went dark. The orb inside the tower dropped to the ground lifeless. Kale and Elia were thrown to the ground by a shockwave, not of heat, but of cold. Their radios went silent. Their screens went black. The island was now dead. Back at the military base, General Rowan smiled. "That's how we send a message," he said, but his smile didn't last. A soldier ran in. "Sir, we have a problem." Rowan turned. "What is it?" The soldier handed him a tablet. On it, a live feed from space. The alien ship above Earth had changed. Its color was now red. And it was moving. President Kale sat on the beach, staring at the gray ruins of the tower. Elia sat beside him, tears in her eyes. "We failed," she whispered. "We were supposed to listen." Kale said nothing. Then behind them, the voice returned to broken, distant. "You chose fear. The light will close. The gate will end." Kale stood up. "No, not yet. You have to give us another chance." But the island began to crumble. Piece by piece, it fell into the sea. Elia shouted, "It's sinking." They ran to the plane just in time. As they flew up, the island disappeared beneath the waves, like it had never existed. The world watched as the alien ship turned slowly in the sky. New patterns appeared on its surface. Red lines, glowing. Faster each second, all global systems began to flicker. Satellites failed. Power grids shut down. Time itself seemed to pause. And then, a message appearing in the sky, spoken in every language, on every screen, even carved into ice, sand, and stone. "You were warned. Now the second phase begins." The sky had changed. The alien ship, once glowing soft blue, now shone deep red. It moved slowly above Earth, no longer silent. Strange low vibrations could be heard from the ground, like thunder buried deep inside the planet. People everywhere stopped and listened. Animals ran away from cities. Birds flew in circles, confused. And across the entire globe, a single message appeared again. "You were warned. Now the second phase begins." Inside the White House, President Cale Donovan returned from the sinking island. His face was pale. His clothes were torn. He looked like he had just seen a ghost. In the war room, the general stood up as he entered. General Rowan greeted him coldly. "The tower was a threat. We neutralized it." Cale slammed his fist on the table. "You destroyed our only chance to understand them." Rowan stepped closer. "They were manipulating us. We made the right call." Cale looked him in the eyes. "You started something we may not be able to stop." The room went silent. Outside, the ship above Earth began to pulse. Red light blinked in patterns. No one could understand them. Not yet. Meanwhile, in a small town in Brazil, a 9-year-old girl named Sophia stood in the middle of her village square. She looked up at the sky and whispered something in a language no one recognized. People watched in confusion. Then suddenly, her eyes turned white. She collapsed to the ground. But her voice continued, speaking, even though her mouth was closed. Her voice echoed across radios, TVs, and phones. It was calm, but full of power. "You were the light once, but you forgot. The second gate will test your shape. The true war is not of weapons, but of choices." Then she woke up. And said nothing more. News spread fast. People began to panic again. Who was speaking through these people? Were they chosen or possessed? In Geneva, the UN Council met once more. This time, things were different. The African delegate spoke first. "We must find the other sites. There are more towers, maybe even more messages." The Japanese leader nodded. "We saw lights under Mount Fuji. It could be one of them." A German scientist added, "Our research confirms energy spikes in 5 places: Peru, Siberia, Egypt, the Mariana Trench, and the Australian outback." President Cale stood up. "They're giving us a second chance," he said. "We have to go to those places, not to attack, but to listen." But General Rowan had already started Project Titan, a global defense plan to prepare nuclear weapons and satellite lasers. "Talking is over," he said. "We prepare for war." That night, Cale had another dream. This time, it was clearer. He stood inside a glowing space. No walls. No floor. Just light. Before him stood a being made of stardust. No face. No voice. But Kale could feel what it wanted to say. Each gate will open a memory. Only the right path saves your kind. But if one falls, all fall. Kale asked, "Why?" "Me?" the being replied. "Because you remember. Because you still feel the echo." Kale opened his eyes. Tears rolled down his face. He didn't understand everything, but he knew this. They were running out of time. At the same moment, deep under the Mariana Trench, something ancient began to rise. Not a ship, not a weapon, but a structure, black, smooth, rising slowly from the ocean floor. Submarines sent to investigate never returned. And above the trench, the water boiled, without fire. In Egypt, a group of explorers entered a newly discovered chamber under the pyramids. Inside, they found glowing symbols on the walls. The symbols moved, alive like writing in water. One symbol appeared again and again. The same red mark now seen on the alien ship. Suddenly, a beam of light burst from the chamber ceiling and shot into the sky. The ship responded. It tilted for the first time in weeks. A sound like a deep bell echoed across the sky. And once more, a voice was heard on Earth. "Gate 2 has been touched. The chain has begun." President Kale called a secret meeting with the 5 nations closest to the gate locations. He shared everything: the dreams, the island, the symbols, the voices. "This is not an invasion," he said. "It's a test, and we are failing." Dr. Elia Rowe showed them a map. "We believe the ship is tracking our decisions. Each action affects how they see us. Peaceful acts slow the red pulse. Violent acts make it grow faster." The Indian Prime Minister nodded. "So, what do we do?" Kale looked at the screen. "We go to the gates. All of them. We try again." In the Australian desert, a team of scientists and soldiers found another tower, half buried in red sand. Unlike the first one, this one was silent, but as they got closer they felt it, warm wind. Though no breeze blew. Their watches stopped ticking. The sand under their boots felt soft. Like skin, a voice whispered into their minds, not words, just feelings, fear, hope, shame. Then a single sentence appeared in the sand. "Do not lie to the gate." The leader of the team, Commander Liu, stepped forward. "I come in truth," she said. The tower blinked once, then opened. Inside, another orb floated, but this one was dark. It needed something. It needed a memory. In Siberia, a military unit arrived at another gate location, but this time, they didn't go in peace. They fired drones into the site. The drones vanished instantly. A storm of ice and wind exploded from the gate, freezing the entire team. In seconds later, satellites captured the area, now covered in crystal. Even the trees were frozen solid. Another voice spoke. "You chose fear again. The second path fades." Back in Washington, President Kale knew what was happening. Rowan's strategy was killing them. "We must stop Project Titan." Kale told his advisors, but it was too late. Rowan had already activated Orbital Shield 1, a weapon strong enough to vaporize half a city from space. Kale stood before the cameras and made a world broadcast. He looked into the lens and said, "To every nation, stand down. We are not at war. We are in a test of who we are and who we can still be. If we fight them, we lose, not because they will destroy us, but because we will destroy ourselves." Some listened, some laughed, some ignored him completely. In Brazil, little Sophia spoke again, this time in English. She looked at her mother and said, "The sky is crying now. 3 doors remain. One leads to fire, one leads to silence, one leads to home." Her voice wasn't her own. Her eyes glowed gold. And then, she smiled. In the final scene, the alien ship split open. A second layer appeared underneath. It was shaped like a flower, or a star with massive glowing roots stretching across the sky. From the center, beams of light fired toward the 5 gates. All across Earth, people stopped and stared. The red glow faded for a moment and turned white. Another message appeared. The shape of your soul is being measured. Your window is small. You must not fight us or each other. And then, silence. President Kale whispered to himself. The second phase is not about them. It's about us. The skies were quiet again, but the silence wasn't peace. The alien ship above Earth now looked alive, its surface glowing like the skin of a sleeping giant. Its patterns kept shifting, forming strange shapes, circles, spirals, and lines. They looked like a language, but no one on Earth could read them. At least, not yet. On the ground, fear was changing into something new. Questions. What was the test? Why Earth? And what was the first war the aliens had spoken of? President Cale Donovan stood alone in his office, watching an old black and white video on a secret screen. The video showed something shocking. In 1947, near Roswell, a craft had crashed. It was not human. Inside, they found symbols, the same red marks now seen on the alien ship. Next to the craft, they found bones, but not alien bones, human bones. Cale paused the video. How can that be? He whispered. Dr. Elia Rowe entered, carrying an old notebook wrapped in plastic. We found this in the Egypt gate, she said. It was sealed inside a stone box. The notebook was hundreds of years old. Its pages were full of drawings, star maps, tall glowing beings, and wars in the sky. Cale turned to one page. His eyes went wide. There was a sketch of a tower, just like the ones now rising around the world. Below it were the words, "We fought them once, and we lost the stars." Cale looked at Elia. This isn't the first time, he said. Meanwhile, far away in Peru, a new team entered the Andes Mountains. They followed the energy pulses to a hidden valley, never marked on any map. At the center stood a black cube, half buried in stone. It HUMMED. The leader, Maya Ortega, placed her hand on the cube. Suddenly, a burst of memory hit her. She saw a vision, the Earth. But not this Earth. It was older, wilder. There were no cities, only forests and lights in the sky. And then she saw them, the beings of light. They weren't attacking, they were teaching. They stood in circles with early humans, drawing stars in the sand. But the vision changed. Another group appeared. They looked like humans too, but stronger, faster, and full of anger. They fought the light beings. The earth shook, oceans rose, and then fire. Maya dropped to her knees. The first war was between humans, she said softly. Aliens didn't start it, we did. Back in Geneva, leaders around the world gathered again. President Cale stood before them and spoke. There was a war long ago, not with weapons like ours, not with armies, but with choices. He paused. These beings, they tried to help us once, but we turned against each other. We used what they gave us for power. Dr. Elia added, this isn't an invasion. It's a return, a checkup. They're seeing if we've changed, or if we'll repeat the same mistakes. General Rowan didn't look impressed. Stories from the past don't win battles, he said coldly. We need to strike first, before they do. But others in the room were listening to Cale. The tide was turning. In the Arctic Circle, the ice began to melt, even though the air was minus 40 degrees Celsius. Under the frozen layers, a massive metal disk began to rise. It wasn't a gate. It was something older. A memory vault. Inside it were glowing symbols, projected into the air like holograms. One of them showed Earth from space, with 3 moons. Cale saw it through a live feed and said, that's impossible. We've only ever had one. Dr. Elia explained, maybe not. Maybe the Earth we know is not the Earth that was. Then came another message. Not in the sky. Not in a dream, but from inside the alien ship itself. For the first time, the ship sent a signal, a voice, clear and direct, broadcasted across all languages. We are the witnesses. We do not conquer. We do not lead. We only reflect what you are. You were once the Skywalkers, the first dreamers. But you forgot. Now 3 gates remain. One has closed. One is fading. One is opening. What you choose will echo through time. Kale stared at the sky. They're giving us one last chance. Meanwhile in Japan, a gate under Mount Fuji fully opened. Inside, a massive room appeared, filled with mirrors. But the mirrors didn't reflect people. They showed memories. A soldier named Kato stepped forward. He saw himself as a child, crying in the dark. He saw his mother. Then, he saw something else, a version of himself. Choosing peace, not war. And behind that version, the alien beings stood, nodding. Kaito dropped his gun. The gate pulsed green. Another voice echoed. One more understands. One more remembered. Back in the United States, General Rowan was losing control. His weapons were failing. The alien ship had blocked all satellite lasers and shut down nuclear codes. Rowan stood in his war room, furious. They've disarmed us, he shouted. Then came a final order from Kale. General Rowan, the president said over the line, you are relieved of duty. Rowan was silent for a moment. Then he smashed the communication panel. But deep down, he knew Kale was right. This wasn't a war of guns. It was a war of truth. In Brazil, little Sophia spoke again. She was standing under a tree, surrounded by villagers. She pointed to the stars. They're not watching us, she said softly. They're waiting for us to remember who we are. Her words were recorded. They went viral across the world, and people began to listen. Crowds gathered near each gate, not with weapons. But with candles, with books, with art, with songs. At the gate in Australia, a woman played a violin, and the tower glowed in rhythm. At the gate in Peru, children drew the symbols in sand, and the gate opened further. At the gate in Egypt, a man recited an old poem about unity. The alien ship began to change color again. Red turned to gold. The sky shimmered. Another message appeared. You are remembering. The gate to the stars begins to open. President Kale made one final speech, broadcasted to the world. No more fear. No more lies, no more hiding. The test is not about what we build. It's about what we believe. We were once more than this. We were a voice among stars. Let's become that again. Tears filled his eyes. He had seen war. He had lost people. He had made mistakes, but now he saw hope. And then, one last event shook the world. The alien ship released a beam of light toward space. A portal opened. Inside it, another world could be seen. A world of floating cities, glowing rivers, and beings of light. It wasn't heaven. It was memory. A memory of what Earth could have been, and might still become. The final message appeared in the sky. 3 gates remain. One path will be chosen. We do not judge. We only reflect. As night fell, Kale stood under the stars with Dr. Elia. She looked at him. Do you think we'll pass the test? Kale looked up. I don't know, he said. But for the first time, we're finally trying. The wind was calm. The lights above Earth shimmered softly. And across the world, people began to dream again, not of war, but of wonder. The world was no longer quiet, not because of war or fear, but because of hope. After weeks of confusion, darkness, and fear, people were now gathering near the gates, those strange alien structures scattered around Earth. Each gate had started reacting to something different: kindness, memories, art, music, and truth. Now, one of them had started to open fully. The gate in Peru. Maya Ortega stood in front of it with her team. They had been camped here for days, studying the signals. The black cube that once hummed with energy was now floating 2 meters above the ground. Beneath it, a spiral of golden light began to grow like roots digging into the earth. Suddenly, the cube cracked open. A bright doorway appeared inside. It not a normal door, but a living light. It didn't shine like the sun. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Everyone stepped back, but Maya stepped forward. Across the world, people watched the live broadcast. The UN had set up satellites to capture every moment. Maya's voice could be heard in many languages. "I see something," she said. On the screen, behind her, people could see a world forming in the gate, like a hologram. Mountains, rivers, floating structures in the sky. It looked like another version of Earth, but perfect. No cities, no roads, no pollution. Just light and nature. Maya turned and looked at the camera. "This is not the future," she said. "This is the past." President Cale Donovan stood in the UN hall, watching the footage in silence. Next to him, Dr. Elia Rowe whispered, "Could it be the Earth before the fall?" Cale nodded. "Maybe this is what they remember. Maybe this is what they want us to return to." Suddenly, a deep sound echoed from the sky. The alien ship, still floating silently above Earth, began to shift again. Its red glow changed to blue. Lines of light spread across its surface, forming shapes, the same symbols from the ancient towers and the Egyptian chamber. Dr. Elia looked closely. "It's the same message repeated." Cale asked, "What does it say?" She replied, "One has chosen. 2 may follow. The gate that opens may also close." Back at the Peru gate, Maya reached out her hand. The light didn't burn. It felt warm, like touching water. She stepped inside. Her body didn't disappear. It transformed. She glowed. She looked younger, and her voice came through the speakers again. "It's a test, but not of strength. It's of intention. Inside this world, you face only one enemy, yourself." The screen went black. Everyone watching held their breath. And then a pulse of light exploded from the gate in Peru and shot into the sky. The alien ship reacted immediately. A part of it folded away. A second portal opened. It showed another world, but this one was dark. Cities were in ruins. Fires burned in the distance. Machines moved through empty streets. And above all, a massive shadow stood in the sky like a god. "Of war," Cale whispered. "That's the other path." A new message appeared. 2 futures, 1 choice. The gate will hold what you give it. The world now understood. These gates weren't doors to another place. They were doors to destiny. What humans chose, the gates would reflect. If humans chose fear, war, and greed, the darker path would grow stronger. If they chose peace, unity, and memory, the golden world would become real. In India, people gathered around the Mount Kailash gate. They meditated, sang old prayers, lit candles. And slowly, the gate began to glow softly. In Canada, children painted on a wall near the frozen gate. They drew Earth with a big heart in the middle. And the ice cracked open. But not everyone believed. In secret bunkers across Europe, a new group called the Iron Sky Alliance was growing. They didn't trust the gates. They believed it was all a trap, a soft invasion to control minds. Their leader, Colonel Victor Stahl, said in a message, "We will not be fooled. The gates are weapons in disguise. We must destroy them before it's too late." He sent drones toward the gate in Siberia. The gate stayed dark, but as soon as the drones entered the airspace, they were crushed by invisible force. Nothing came out. No sound. Just silence. The gate remained cold. A new warning flashed in the sky. Those who attack what is offered reject the mirror. Cale stood before the UN again. "We don't need more weapons. We need more understanding." But some leaders were afraid. What if it's a trick? One asked, what if the golden world is just bait? said another. Kale remained calm. We've been asking what if for centuries. But maybe it's time to ask, what now? Back in Peru, Maya returned. She stepped out of the gate. She looked different. Her eyes glowed faintly. Her voice was soft but full of power. I saw our true shape, she said. We are not small. We are not broken. We are only asleep. She held out her hand. In it was a small glowing crystal. I brought this back. It's not a weapon. It's a key. Dr. Elia studied the crystal. It contains memory, she said, like a living book. It's showing us everything, what we were, what we did, and what we can be. Inside the crystal were visions, ancient cities floating in the sky, beings of light and humans working side by side, energy powered by sound and emotion, a council of worlds, with Earth once seated among them, but the visions ended. With war, humans fighting each other. Burning the cities. Breaking the sky. And then, silence. Elia turned to Kale. The first war wasn't aliens versus humans. It was us. vs ourselves. Kale nodded slowly. And now, we're being given one last chance. Suddenly, a signal came from the alien ship. But this time, it wasn't a message. It was a song. A deep, ancient melody. It echoed through the clouds. It vibrated. In the bones of every human on Earth, some cried, some felt peace, some fell to their knees. Kale listened carefully, and then he sang along. He didn't know how he knew the words, but they came. We were the stars once. We were the fire. We are the bridge. We are the choir. Across the world, others joined. Old people in villages. Children in classrooms. Soldiers on bases. The sound grew louder, brighter, warmer. And then the ship began to split open like a flower. A single figure descended. Not in a ship. Not with armor. Just light, shaped like a person. Its voice was in everyone's mind. One gate now opens fully. The decision must be made. In the final scenes, the Golden Gate in Peru opens into a bright world. The dark gate remains hidden, waiting. People around the world begin to gather, choosing which future to follow. The alien figure disappears, leaving only the light behind, and the final message echoes once more. We do not choose for you. We only hold the mirror. The gate that opens is the one you build inside. As the sun rose over Earth, Kale looked out. The window. He whispered, this is not about aliens. This is not about war. This is about becoming human again. The world was no longer watching in fear. It was waiting. 3 gates now stood active across Earth. The golden one in Peru, open and glowing. The frozen one in Canada, cracked but silent. And the dark one, location unknown, hiding its truth. The real choice was not in the gates. It was in the hearts of people. President Cale Donovan sat in a small conference room in Geneva. No media, no cameras, just leaders from across the globe. They looked tired. Some had lost cities to panic. Some had seen peace rise from small villages. Everyone was silent until Cale stood. No more talks. No more fear, he said. The aliens aren't our enemies. They are not here to rule us. They gave us a mirror. He paused, looking at each person in the room, and we've seen what's inside. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, something strange happened. The water began to spin. Not fast like a storm, but wide and slow like the ocean itself was breathing. Out of the calm center, a black pillar rose. A 4th gate. No one expected. No team was there. No soldiers, just a single fishing boat with a father and his 8-year-old son, Arlo. The boy looked into the pillar's glow and whispered, Dad, I think it's listening to us. Back in Geneva, a transmission interrupted the world's feeds. It wasn't from Earth. It came from deep space, sent by the alien ship. Above Earth, bouncing off stars, a voice spoke. The time of choosing begins. The gates are mirrors. The ship is memory. The decision is yours. Do you rise or repeat? In New Delhi, hundreds gathered around an ancient temple. A small gate had formed beside it. Not large like Peru's, but thin and delicate like. A crack in space. An old woman stepped forward. She held nothing. She just knelt and began to pray. Her words weren't about asking for power. They were about forgiveness. Suddenly, the gate pulsed white, then gold. A calm wind blew across the crowd. The gate didn't open, but it shimmered, like it was thinking. Meanwhile, in New York, Colonel Victor Stahl and the Iron Sky Alliance prepared their final attack. "We do not kneel," he told his soldiers. "We do not bow to light or shadows. We fight for control." They had built a secret bomb, one powerful enough to destroy the Peru gate, or so they thought. At midnight, their drones flew toward the site. But the gate was not alone. Thousands of people surrounded it. No weapons, no shields. Just people from every nation holding hands, singing, waiting. When the drones arrived, the gate reacted. It glowed brighter than ever before. And then, the drones stopped mid-air, froze, fell like feathers to the ground. No explosion. No violence. Just peace. The gate had chosen to protect those who chose peace. A message lit the sky. This is not a game of power. This is a garden of memory. Only those who care may plant the future. In Brazil, little Sophia had a new vision. She stood at the edge of a river. The water showed her faces, thousands of them. Some were smiling, some crying, some angry. Each face was a choice. "One path leads to stars," she said. "The other leads to shadows." Her father asked, "Which one will we take?" Sophia didn't answer. She just looked up. Back in Washington, Cale and Dr. Elia Rowe sat together. She had decoded the last part of the alien messages. "It's not one choice," she said. "It's millions of small ones. Every person, every day, is part of the test." Cale nodded. "Then it's not about winning," he said. "It's about changing." Then, something happened across the world. Gates everywhere began to respond to human action. In Kenya, children built a peace symbol out of stone. The gate near them opened halfway. In Russia, two enemies helped each other escape a flood. A hidden gate appeared nearby. In Australia, an artist painted the symbols on a cliff. The painting lit up and began to sing. All these small acts were shaping the outcome. Not technology, not governments. Human hearts. But the dark gate, the unknown one, was waking up too. A satellite finally found it, deep underground. In a desert no one visited. It had been locked away for a reason. Inside it were weapons. Not human weapons, alien ones. Huge machines shaped like insects. Black, sharp, ready. The gate wasn't opening for peace. It was calling to anger. Whoever touched it in hate would wake them. Colonel Stahl found it first. He thought he could control it. He walked into the darkness alone. As soon as he touched the gate, it reacted. The machines came alive. He smiled. Now we hold real power. But the machines didn't follow him. They turned to face him, and a new message appeared. Hate awakens hunger. But hunger cannot lead. This gate is not a throne. It is a mirror of ruin. The machines turned to dust. Stahl fell to his knees, beaten, not by force, but by truth. He was not a leader. He was a warning. Back at the Peru gate, Maya stood once more. Before the glowing entrance, the crystal in her hand now pulsed like a heartbeat. She turned to the people. "Now is the time," she said. "Not to enter, but to decide who we are. We are being asked one question. Do we remember who we used to be? And who we can become?" All across Earth, people sat in silence, waiting, thinking, choosing. Some cried. Some smiled. Some simply closed their eyes. And in that moment, the alien ship above Earth began to fade. Not explode. Not leave, but become light. Thousands of small lights. Each one floated down like a seed. They entered oceans, forests, cities. Each seed held a message. We are done watching. Now you are the builders. Your choice is made every day you live. We did not come to lead. We came to remind. The gates began to close slowly, but not forever. The golden one stayed open, but now it led not to another world, but to a library of memory. Anyone who entered didn't disappear. They returned with stories, visions of peace. Ideas for clean energy, healing, and unity. But only those who entered with pure hearts were allowed in. Others simply saw light and turned away. In the final scenes, Kale retires as president, choosing to teach in a small school. Dr. Elia builds a global memory center to protect the knowledge from the gates. Maya becomes the voice of the new Earth Council, formed not by borders, but by shared values. Sophia continues to walk the earth, still seeing visions, still guiding others, and the last message appears across the sky, in every language. You were always more. You were always light. Now you must remember. The sun was setting on Earth's new chapter. After months of fear, hope, and choices, the world had changed forever. The gates were now silent, standing like ancient sentinels guarding secrets. But the greatest challenge was still ahead. President Cale Donovan sat quietly in his small home, the weight of the world finally lifting from his shoulders. He watched the golden gate's light flicker in the distance, now a place of memory and peace. But his phone rang, a familiar voice, calm but urgent. Maya, it's time. Maya Ortega stood on the steps of the United Earth Council, ready to speak to the entire planet. Her eyes shone with a light that was not just from hope, but from truth. The gates had shown humanity its mirror, its best and worst. And now she had a message that could not be ignored. We must not fight them. She spoke clearly, her voice carrying across cities, villages, and distant lands. Not the aliens, not ourselves, but the fear that drives us to hate. The council chambers were packed. Scientists, leaders, children, and artists listened. Maya continued, the aliens who gave us the gates are not our enemies. They never were. They offered us a choice, a test of intention. She paused. To fight them is to fight our own shadows. Across the globe, the message sparked debate. Some believed Maya. Others feared. But deep inside, a new understanding grew. In a hidden bunker beneath the Nevada desert, Colonel Victor Stahl stared at the screens. The dark gate was sealed. His machines were destroyed. His power was gone, but his mind was still sharp. We have to find another way, he muttered. Meanwhile, Dr. Elia Rowe worked in the Global Memory Center. She held the glowing crystal Maya had brought from the Peru gate. It pulsed softly in her hands, alive with ancient knowledge. She spoke to Kale over the secure line. This crystal is a key not to weapons or power, but to remembering, to becoming the people we once were and can be again. Kale smiled. Then we have work to do. In the weeks that followed, Earth changed. The gates became places of learning. People traveled to them, not to escape, but to find themselves. Schools were built around the golden gates. Stories were shared. Music played. But not all was peaceful. In the shadows, fear still lurked. Some groups rejected the gates. They called them lies. They wanted to destroy them once and for all. Maya knew the danger. She gathered a group of young leaders. Together, they formed the Guardians of Memory. Their mission was simple: protect the gates, protect the knowledge, and protect hope. One night, an alarm blared at the Peru gate. A group of attackers tried to destroy it. The Guardians arrived just in time, without violence. They used light and song to calm the attackers. The gates responded. A soft golden shield surrounded the area. The attackers fled. The world watched in awe. The gates were not weapons. They were living mirrors of human spirit. In the far north, the frozen gate finally opened. It revealed a world covered in ice, but alive with glowing plants and creatures. Scientists and explorers entered. They found new hope in a frozen future. In the deserts of Africa, The fourth gate discovered by Arlo. The boy from the fishing boat opened slowly. It showed a garden of stars. A place where the sky touched the earth. Where dreams and reality met. But the most powerful moment came when the alien ship above Earth spoke again, not in words, but in images. It showed Earth's history, not just wars, but moments of kindness. Not just destruction, but creation. It was a message of balance. Kale stood before the UN once more. Humanity has been given a chance, but it is not a gift. It is a responsibility. The final warning echoed in everyone's mind. We must not fight them. We must fight fear. For fear is the true enemy. The gates remained open. The memories alive, but the choice was clear. Maya looked up at the stars. The alien lights twinkled softly. A gentle voice whispered in her mind, "You are ready." Earth had passed the test, not by fighting, but by remembering who it truly was. The end.